Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Tuesday, the 2nd of August. It's game day as Rangers embark on another European campaign. I'm Derek Clark, live from Brussels, and I'm joined by Joshua Barry. Bonjour, Joshua.
Bonjour. I asked Derek off camera how he was, and his first reply was warm. So, but 29, Derek, it's quite comfortable. I don't think that's not too.
Not for me. It's not. Maybe for you it is, Joshua. But at the moment, I'm just looking at my phone. It's 22 degrees. I just stepped out after a bit of breakfast this morning, and it is sweltering already. It was roasting yesterday. I think it's going to touch on 33 over the course of the next 2 days here as well. So I shall be seeking shade at all times. The sun does not agree with my skin complexion, unfortunately. So yeah, any Rangers fans heading out to Belgium, heading out to Leuven where the game is, just might apply the sun cream and just be careful in the midday sun because it is very, very warm indeed. Okay, let's talk all things Rangers, Joshua. Before we do that, just a little reminder, folks, we've got that great offer on the website. You can see below on the little ticker, but it's just £2 for 2 months worth of content. Head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe for all the details. So many of you signing up actually to the current deal, which is fantastic to see, and by all accounts, you're all enjoying the content that we're providing. So thanks very much for that. I'll put the link in the description in the comments box as well. I do apologise if there's any background noise, folks, here at my hotel in Brussels. A bit of industrial work going on, but we'll try and make do. Joshua, game day, Rangers take on Union tonight in Leuven. You've done a piece on the website looking at the opposition in some detail. What can Rangers expect tonight? I was speaking to some Belgian journalists yesterday, and they were very happy that Ryan Kent is not going to be playing this evening, and they just want to keep the tie alive. This is words they said to me. They said they don't want it to be a 5-0 or anything like that. So they don't have much expectation going into this game. But what are you expecting?
Well, I think they're a really good team. It's definitely the type of draw that there's a risk of, as Van Bronckhorst said at the press conference yesterday, maybe not the most known name in European football, but you know they finished almost won the league in Belgium for a reason. It's a good standard of league. Everyone knows that, and I think they've got a lot of good things about their play that Rangers will find difficult to combat. You know, as Van Bronckhorst said at the press conference yesterday, they've got a clear style of play. That's very true. Line up in a back three or a back five with wing backs who can kind of sit on the last line. And I imagine tonight, Derek, they want to keep the tie alive, but I guess preferentially they want to go to Ibrox with a lead because you know there's no chance that they won't have watched the games back from last season and known kind of the impetus and the impact that the Ibrox crowds can have on games. So I think we'll probably see their wing backs go really high, try and be aggressive and push back Rangers full backs or wing backs, whatever they play. Adingra on the left is a player. If you watch his goal from the opening day of the season, it's a very good strike indeed. He's more of a winger than a fullback, so equally probably an opportunity for Tavernier to get the better of him defensively. Midfield three quite flexible. You got what you'll see them do a lot is try and create these kind of 4v3s out wide, where they're quite comfortable holding possession. Their centre backs will go really, really wide. I put something on my Twitter about that last week, and their centre backs are genuinely hugging the touchline just to try and stretch play as much as possible, and then work quite good crossing positions. But they've also got good pace. Van Zier, number 13 up front, likes making these vertical runs in behind the fullbacks. Without the ball, they can kind of fall into I've called it Beal ball in my title because that kind of compact shape that shows play around leaves the far side fullback to his own devices and just concentrates on condensing the space around the ball. So I'll put that in the comments below. I think having watched them, it's Rangers should be confident that they can win the tie. They will be favourites because they made it to a European final last season. But equally, going into this game tonight, they'll have to be very wary of Union's threats, and that's why I kind of think Van Bronckhorst might opt for the kind of functional approach and of maybe going for Glenn Kamara at number 10 with a Tillman or a Lawrence off the right and a Matondo off the left. we can chat about that as well, I'm sure. But they'll I think they'll be quite aggressive tonight. Is it Union? Am I pronouncing that right there?
That's it, right? Yeah, Joshua.
Union.
Yeah, that's spot on. Yeah,
because they'll want to. They'll know that they need to. You really need to go tie box with a lead. So this will be interesting because Craig highlighted this, and I mentioned it yesterday. It's a bit of a blind spot in terms of Van Bronckhorst's European games so far. He's done really well when he's punched upwards against the big teams, but when he's going away from home against a similar level of opposition, this is the type of game where Gerrard's shape would just sit in there and hit on the break. But Van Bronckhorst, we've not really seen as many examples of games like this. So looking forward to it, and hopefully Rangers can definitely keep the tie alive, but hopefully take a lead back to Ibrox.
Yeah, hello to everyone getting into so many comments coming in at the moment. Scott from New Zealand, James watching us all the way from Cyprus. He says, is Davis available tonight? Well, it was part of the stadium walk-around last night. The players just got acquainted with the pitch, which I must say is absolutely magnificent. The boy, the groundsman there, the grounds team actually have done a great job. They've actually won awards in Belgium because the pitch is so good. Ollie Macon is the head groundsman there, and he's done a tremendous job. So it's an absolute bowling green. Rangers should have no problem playing their stuff this evening on that pitch. Someone asked what time's kick-off. 7:45 UK time, 8:45, of course, in Belgium, being an hour ahead. Hi to Jock, who gets in touch. Katic Lyle, have you been swamped? He sampled the local beverages in Belgium. Well, I was slagged.
You had to heat on the work group chat yesterday, is what you're trying to do.
Because when in Rome and all that, I had a Stella, which of course is brewed in Belgium. So I don't see what the Johnny McFarlane, the beer connoisseur, took credence to that choice of mine, but it tasted magnificent. And I had a Grindenberg last night as well, which was pretty decent as well. So yeah, sampled some of them, but looking to sample some more as I head out later on and look to speak to a number of Rangers fans that are making their way over. Just over 1,000, I'm told, that are heading to the stadium this evening. No doubt it'll be more than that, of course. Around 7,000 Union fans expected to travel to the ground as well. Of course, it's not their home ground because it doesn't meet UEFA regulations. So we're playing at the OH Leuven Stadium, which is a compact little ground, just over 10,000. It holds Katic Lyle. Grindenberg sounds like a new sign. It does. Absolutely. Right, some questions coming in with regards to who plays on the wings, Joshua, because the big news yesterday was that Ryan Kent didn't travel with the squad. It's obviously a knock he's picked up from the weekend win over Livingston. Similarly with John Souttar, same reason. A lot of rumours that it was personal reasons why he was omitted. No, it's similar to Ryan Kent, just something he picked up from the weekend. So both of them not part of the matchday squad. So let's hit some of the questions that are coming in. George Higgins says, what chance Sakala on the left? I've got to say, I would quite like to see Sakala on the left, Joshua, based on the fact that I think he's done well over on that side. I think he deserves a chance. He's played in Belgium. He knows this side of, well, I'm not too sure if he'd played against him. He may have done for Ostend, of course, who he played for. I'm not entirely sure. But I would be inclined to start Sakala. I know people are saying Tom Lawrence or Rabbi Matondo perhaps on the left-hand side. Where do you stand on Fashion Sakala?
Well, you're right. Obviously, Derek did an impressive spell in Belgium. Belgian football's quite in keeping with a lot of European football, where a lot of sides go and try and play, so there's a lot of space to hit, which suits a player like Sakala, who we know can be quite effective in space, is a very unpolished player. I kind of think it'll be Matondo on the left. He had a good season in Belgium off the left last season, scored 9 goals from there in just over 20 games. I think it'll be Matondo off the left, Kamara as the number 10, because it gives you the option of obviously Lundstrom dropping back, and I think Van Bronckhorst will want to rely as well on the players that were so good in Europe last season, and then a Tillman or a Lawrence off the right. Equally, you look at Lawrence in that West Ham game, and aside from the finish, what he did really well for 2 goals is move play really quickly up the pitch when Rangers are in space, and Kamara doesn't really do that. I don't think that the tempo of his passing, and even at Livingston on the weekend, there was an example where he could have played Scott right through and he kind of played it sideways. I just don't think he's quite as incisive a player at points. So I wouldn't be overly surprised if it's any option, because then you've also got to consider the fact that Tillman came on to make a debut in a difficult circumstance, 1-0 down on the opening day of the season away against Livingston, and just took to it so seamlessly and looked really impressive. But if I was pushed for an answer, I'd say Lawrence from the right, kind of tucking inside, Kamara at number 10 and Matondo on the left. I'm staying at my parents', Derek, because I'm looking after the dog.
Dog sitting.
We'll maybe get on the podcast at one point.
Oh, tremendous! Yeah, more dogs need to come on the podcast on the video. I think that is an absolute definite.
And my dad, before I asked him just before he was going away this morning, was having a coffee with him, and I said, how do you replace Ryan Kent? And he just said to me 4-4-2. So that's his. That's his. I thought that you'd quite like that. Derek.
He talks sense. I would go, bring back 4-4-2. It's a dying formation, and it needs brought back pronto.
Rangers don't even have 2 strikers to play 4-4-2. That's what I said to him, but mine's made up. But I think it will be Matondo off the left, because Sakala hasn't really featured all that much, has he, in pre-season, and Matondo looks really exciting. It's a difficult balance to strike, though, and I've just got a piece coming out later today about, do you go for functionality or do you go for kind of flexibility and freedom? Because you remember the game against Midtjylland a couple of seasons ago, when away goals did count and Rangers go away there and they score, was it 4 goals in that night? Was it 4-2? Yeah. So you don't have to just go and defend the lead. If you think you're a better team, maybe just go and win. But I'm sure Van Bronckhorst, he's earned the trust in these European games, and he'll have a plan for what he needs to do.
Yeah, lots of questions coming about the dog, Joshua.
I'm going to see if we can get him posted up for the end of the show. There.
Yeah. Leave it with me. As long as your dog is a bear. What's the dog's name? Stuart asks.
Buddy, Stuart.
Buddy, that's a good dog name.
He's a good boy.
Yeah, it sounds like a good boy. Let's reach some of the other questions that are coming in. Jimmy Duff says, what time is the draw for the next round, guys? Yes, the playoff round, the draw takes place at 11 a.m. UK time. Of course, there will be a lot of faffing around, as there always is with these UEFA draws. But I can tell you that draw takes place this morning, folks. Now, who can Rangers face? They can face one of 4 sides. The winners of either Dynamo Kiev or Sturm Graz. That match taking place in Poland, of course, not taking place in Kiev. And they could also face the winners of Monaco or PSV Eindhoven. So certainly both, whoever they face is going to be tough. We can't get ahead of ourselves, Joshua. They need to take care of Union, of course, but it's not going to be easy to make those Champions League group stages. But I would argue they'd fancy their chances against any of those sides. I think Monaco is the one that sort of screams out to you because they have spent a bit of money and there's a bit of pedigree behind them.
Yeah, Monaco will be really difficult. But what I liked about Van Bronckhorst in the press conference yesterday was he didn't kind of try and say, in second, Derek, we might you answer a couple of questions. I'm going to get this dog up and then I'll continue.
Right, okay, fantastic. What do you make of the potential opponents, folks, as Joshua goes to retrieve the canine, which hopefully will be making an appearance shortly? Pete Lawrence says, just touching on tonight, the pitch looks sublime, Derek. Yeah, absolutely does. It was really lucky to see it.
Here we go, Derek. Here he is.
Earlier on. There he is. Hi, buddy. There you go. Rangers dogs, all for that. Right, buddy, who's playing left wing tonight? Do you know?
No, he's camera shy. Yeah, but there he is.
Okay. Is it Rangers going to win tonight, buddy?
He's a bear by all accounts, so I'm sure he would say yes.
Absolutely sensational stuff.
There you go. That's the content you get every morning at 9:30, Derek, isn't it? We vary it up, don't we?
Yeah.
So
terrific stuff.
The point I was making was before Buddy interrupted is what I liked about Van Bronckhorst. He didn't try and say, budget-wise, we're not favourites, we shouldn't be favourites. He kind of said, yeah, we got to European finals, so we will be. And I think that's refreshing. I quite like that because he's right. Based on the level opposition Rangers beat last season, even though they punched above their weight, they should be confident that they can go and get into the Champions League, and they should be there. So you've definitely got to take into account that the opposition will think the exact same thing, I'm sure. But yeah, why not? I like that. It's refreshing.
John Dooley says, "Cut this short and take him for a walk." Joshua, has he been for a walk this morning? Hopefully,
he has. Just a small one. Just a small one, but we'll maybe take him on a longer one later.
Stuff. Fantastic.
Yeah, he likes a lion, actually, Derek. So I was up before him, and sometimes I have to, when I'm dog sitting, I have to kind of G him up to get him out early because he wants to.
Does he like a little lion? Does he?
Yeah. He's 9 now, so he's in his kind of middle age, coming into retirement.
Some questions come in. Who you'd like to face in those playoff rounds? Ross Marshall said, "I think a draw against a harder team suits us. We're better as the underdog." Is that fair? There's a fair assessment there. Scott Marshall says, "Some Graz, please. Good memories of the last time at Ibrox. Of course, that 5-0 thumping. I remember it well. Rangers were incredible that night, although the return when they headed over to Austria was less said about that match, the better. Rangers threw away qualification after a great start that season. But yeah, you'd fancy their chances against some Graz, you've got to say. But listen, you need to do the business not only tonight, but next week as well against Union. Some questions coming in. This one here, Stuart Lang, did you find any good pubs around the stadium? It's quite residential around the actual ground. There's tennis courts there nearby, but then you need to walk probably roughly around 1.5 kilometres, 2 kilometres to get to the sort of town centre, if you like. And there's loads of bars. I posted a picture on my Twitter yesterday. It's Oud Market, I believe it is, Leuven Oud Market. And I seen they were doing a deal, 1 Stella for €2.50 or 10 for €20. So I'm sure that the many Rangers supporters will be taking advantage of that. But yeah, there's loads of bars and what have you. And the walk itself takes around 20-25 minutes to the ground, so it's not too bad. So plenty within the vicinity, you've got to say, although not right next to the ground. Let's see some of the other questions that are coming in here. Someone asking, does CGM55, good friend of the show, does Yilmaz come straight into the team? Harsh on Borna Barisic if he does. And we've seen that, of course, he's linked up with the squad on Sunday, Joshua. We've all seen the pictures on social media. I think everyone's excited to see him play, of course, but does he come in tonight?
Yeah, I think you've got, aside from the attacking position that we've talked about, you've got a big call about the goalkeeper. Not so much centre-backs. I think James Sands will play there, but that's still, one of his first starts, certainly in a game of this magnitude, as centre-back. So that's quite a big call. Yilmaz, I don't think he would, purely because he's not played whatsoever. With that being said, I'm pretty sure Van Bronckhorst said that he was right up to speed, even ahead of schedule pre-season wise, because of his time with Besiktas. So you never know in these situations. If I thought the Rangers' left side, the defence looked really weak on Sunday. All Livingston shots came from that kind of position in the box. I know a couple were from set pieces, but you could see clearly that they were kind of hitting that side of the pitch. That wouldn't be a very comforting or convincing for Borna Barisic, though, would it, if Yilmaz went in right away? But when you spend that type of money, you're obviously bringing him in to be a first-team player. So I wouldn't rule it out, but I agree. I would be surprised. I don't know who you think will start in goals, Derek. I kind of think that Alan McGregor might get the nod tonight. What do you think?
Yeah, some comments come in with regards to the goalkeeping position. A lot of people saying McGregor. Catholic Loyoff says McGregor in goals tonight, big games, he gets the nod. I'm not entirely sure. I'd feel comfortable with John McLaughlin between the sticks this evening. Again, everyone goes on about he's better with the ball at his feet in terms of his distribution. Rangers do like to play out from the back. That was something that the Union coach commented on in his press conference yesterday. That it's not kick and rush and long balls like it was in Scottish football 20 years ago. He was admiring Rangers' style of play, playing out from the back, lots of combination play with speed. I think John McLaughlin suits that. However, it's a tough one. And we obviously seen him in goals at Livingston at the weekend. I'm not one for chopping and changing goalkeepers, Joshua. I don't think it's. I'm not a fan of it. Let's put it that way. I'd like to see John McLaughlin between the sticks tonight, but could you see McGregor in there? You've done your predicted lineups on the Rangers Review website. You can go and check them out, folks. Who's in goal for you?
I honestly can't remember, Derek, but I think McLaughlin. But it was so much has changed since we did it yesterday because Kent's out. Obviously, Suter hasn't travelled. I agree. Obviously, McGregor was kept around the line that was obviously kind of put around his experience. That's what Van Bronckhorst spoke about. No one has made more appearances in Europe for Rangers than McGregor. So I kind of think it might be him that starts tonight. He's not as comfortable playing out from the back, but there's lots of examples of how Rangers have used that in the past. So if you think back to the 1-1 Old Firm draw, the end of last season where Sakala scores that goal, Rangers went long over the press quite a lot, but did it quite successfully. It wasn't just kick and rush, kick and run. And I did a piece at the time, I'll maybe link it in the comments, that kind of showed the difference between the 3-0 defeat at Celtic Park in February in that game where Rangers hadn't kind of set up for the long balls then. But in the 1-1 game they had, and McGregor, they were able to kind of use his distribution in a different way. But I certainly think if you're trying to invite the press and play through it, you need a goalkeeper that's really comfortable with his feet, which John McLaughlin is definitely more comfortable with his feet. So my head says it'll be McGregor because of his experience, but I'm with you, Derek. I don't like the chopping and changing of goalkeepers. Me and Johnny were speaking about this yesterday. I mean, can you think of many examples where obviously there's examples of a cup keeper and a league keeper, but can you think of an example where you have like a Champions League keeper and a league keeper? I can't think of. If anyone can think of examples, let us know in the comments, but I can't think of one off the top of my head.
No. I'm just thinking down south if any clubs in England do that, but I'm not entirely sure. I think Man United maybe done it. De Gea and was it Romero or what have you? I'm not entirely sure. But yes, I'd go with McLaughlin, but I can see why people would opt for Alan McGregor. Thing is, they're both top quality goalkeepers. At the end of the day, you should have no qualms about quality, whoever's going to be taking the place between the sticks. Roy Nelson gets in touch, good friend of the show. He says, good evening, gents. Getting ready for an early night as kickoff, 2:45 a.m. here tomorrow. That's the Rangers support, Joshua. It's incredible getting up at any hour of the day to watch their beloved team in action. It's fantastic stuff. Things you love to see, as people say. But sweet dreams, Roy, and hopefully the alarm kicks in and you get up to watch Rangers and you're watching a good performance over in Belgium. James Strachan says it'll be 4:45 in Australia.
All of my friends, Derek, were in America on Saturday and got up at whatever time, like 4 or 5, and watching that. I think they'd flown that night, maybe, or certainly were jet lagged. So can you imagine watching that? Imagine watching that Livingston first half, but at 4 a.m. after.
No, you'd thought no.
That would nightmares, wouldn't it? That would feel like a fever dream. But no, good. Hope everyone enjoys it. Hope it's an enjoyable game. 7:45 here. Hopefully the Premier Sport feed holds out. But if not, we'll have to get live updates from you at the game.
yeah, I'll do it like Albufeira. We'll do a live video from the ground. But I'm sure that the floodlights will work, and fingers crossed Premier Sports aren't showing the rerun of the Scottish Cup final when the game's on as well. So hopefully those two combine and you can watch Rangers in their entirety this evening. So lots of comments coming in here. Rabbi just touches on the keeper situation. Great to have two brilliant keepers, two good players for every position. Absolutely spot on. And Rangers have built a squad. Connor Goldson and Giovanni Van Bronckhorst were quizzed about this yesterday in the press conferences, Joshua, about the squad and is this the sort of best squad? Well, in terms of Connor Goldson, the best squad he's been a part of, and he said yes. It's hard to disagree with that. You look around man for man, and it does look very strong, and that's why it's led to a lot of excitement and optimism from supporters heading into this season. Although I'm sure the first half at Livingston, people were thinking, "No, what's going on here?" But good that they got. It was all about 3 points at the weekend, and I'm sure with Yilmaz still to come in, still to see Ben Davies as well. There's certainly a lot of optimism around. And would you sort of agree that this is possibly the strongest Rangers squad for quite some time?
Well, yeah, definitely. You've got to take Goldson's word on that, don't you? And the interesting thing was he said, an 11 versus 11 at training, so when you've got that full 22 kind of whole squad in there, it's really competitive and the most competitive it's ever been. Because if you think, Kent's obviously out tonight and Davies is out tonight, Davies isn't out tonight, but he's not maybe going to start because he's not played yet. But as you said, he's with the squad. I meant to say Suter is out tonight. If you have all those players fit, you have a centre back choice of Davies, Suter, Goldson, Sands. Who else have I missed? Hollander if he's fit, but I know that if he's fit is
forget all about him.
Forget all about that. But anyway, then you look a line up in midfield. You've got a number of players in the attacking options now. If Matondo and Kent are both there, also with who's it? Tillman and Lawrence in the middle. You have a lot of options, and also what was so important in that second half for Rangers is they could change it. They had the depth from the bench to go, okay, we've not got anyone taking the ball through the middle, upsetting that Livingston block, so we're going to put Tillman on, who's a different profile to a Wright or a Lawrence, and it means you can do something different. And by having that, that's what Van Bronckhorst has spoke about a lot in pre-season: variation, the ability to attack in lots of different ways. You're seeing clubs all around the world utilising this to try and strengthen their hands. Even the top teams. Arsenal's the example that Craig used in his piece earlier in the week. They went and signed Fabio Vieira, I think his name is, who's number 10 when they've already got number 10, but gives them something different because, in game now, it's important that you're able to change what you do, upset the opposition's defensive structure and whatnot. So that's a really important option to have, even if you look at the difference from fullback. So who knows if there's going to be another player coming or going, but if you're traveling there tonight with Morelos and Roof and Kent and all these players fit as well, you can't fit them all in, which is a good thing, and it's what you need because it makes your life easier, gives you more options, gives you greater competition. Again, what's the Fulham manager's name? Is it Marco Silva, who's they're not signing any players? And if you listen to what he said about it, he wasn't just discussing his options and the players that he had to go and face top-level opposition. It was also things like the competition and training. I think that's one of the first things he referenced when he was talking about the need for other players. And as Goldson says, definitely seems like there's a lot of competition in training just now. So the squad looks in a good place. Doesn't look like there's going to be much more, if any, business done by this point. But if you make the Champions League, Derek, and you manage to shift a few wages out the door, I don't think you can write that off.
Yeah, well, that leads us nicely on. I just finally wanted to touch on this. Good question from Greg Archibald, who gets in touch. Do you think we'll see any further signs if we qualify for the Champions League? That is an interesting one. Not looking too far ahead, of course, but just playing devil's advocate. If they do get into the group stages, do you think this squad, would you be happy with the squad as it is going into that stage of the competition, Joshua? Or could you see Rangers splashing a bit of cash and bringing in a bit more quality?
I guess the first question is, where would you bring a starter in at the moment? Because if you're going to bring in a player of real quality, I think the one position you could still say needs a bit of depth is, in that midfield role next to John Lundstrom. But if you say that, you've got a player in Glenn Kamara who's worth X amount of money. I know he didn't have a good game on Saturday, but when he plays deeper, he's a really high quality player in the Scottish Premiership. So bit of a tricky situation. You've also got to consider, Tillman certainly from his debut looks to be the real deal. We need more time to really firm up that opinion. But how much is his buyout clause, or is it a buyout clause? No, exclusive right to buy at the end of the season. Where does a starter come into that team really, apart from in midfield, Derek? And they've got so many numbers in there. So I'm in the camp that you should, especially if you're going into the Champions League. Maybe it would be a situation, as Stuart says, of bringing in another striker. And I agree with that, but you've also got to look at the fact that Morelos has really never been injured when he's been at Rangers at all. Can you think of another long-term injury, Derek? I can't think of one apart from suspension. So presuming that he's going to be fit for the whole season and Čolak is as well, where does this other striker get games? Unless they come in and they're better than Čolak, but then I think it's a difficult one to kind of balance out.
Yeah, I don't think they're getting anyone as good as Morelos, I'm afraid. And hopefully, I mean, positive talks have been taking place with regards to extending this contract, and I'm sure everyone would like the Colombian to extend his deal at Ibrox. Okay, I think that'll do us there, folks. Thanks again to everyone getting in touch with the programme. It's very much appreciated. Just a reminder, if you've not signed up to the website already, you can take advantage of a great offer on just now, just 2 months for £2. Just head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe for all the details. If you're heading to Belgium, then safe travels. I know that many of you will be out here already. And if you're watching the game at home or wherever you're watching it, then enjoy it. Hopefully your team wins, and we will back again tomorrow to review the match. I'll be back again tonight prior to kickoff when the teams get announced, so we can have a wee chat then, and also immediately after the game, so you can give your reaction as well to that. Okay, thanks again to everyone, and we'll see